Back in 1956, a play hit the London stage, and it wasn't just a play, it was an explosion. One critic said it was like a landmine that blew most of British theater up. That play was John Osborne's Look Back in Anger. Today, we're going to dive into the story of the man right at the heart of it all and the cultural firestorm he started.
Wow, just listen to that line. It pretty much sums up the feeling of an entire generation after the war. That's the voice of our protagonist, or maybe our anti-hero is a better word for him. A guy who looked around at the faded glory of the British Empire and felt like there was just nothing left worth fighting for. So, let's meet him.
All right, Section 1, the original angry young man. See, this play did more than just tell a story. It actually created a whole new kind of character, a cultural icon, really, that perfectly captured this restless, frustrated energy that was bubbling just under the surface in Britain.
And here's the thing, this term, angry young man, it wasn't some deep academic idea. It was actually cooked up by a publicist for the play, almost as a throwaway line. But man, did it stick. It was the perfect label for this new voice in Britain, a voice that was cynical, rebellious, and just plain fed up with a system that felt totally rigged. And the poster boy for this whole movement, the main character of our play. So let's get to know Jimmy Porter. He's the heart of the play, a raging, brilliant, sometimes cruel, and deeply, deeply wounded soul. He's the kind of character you just can't look away from, even when you really, really want to. So who is this guy? Well, Jimmy Porter is a walking contradiction. Get this, he's got a university degree, but what's he doing for a living? He runs a candy stand with his best friend. He is bursting with intelligence and passion, but he has absolutely nowhere to channel it, which just leaves him feeling powerless. And all that frustration has to go somewhere, right? For Jimmy, it comes out in these furious, angry tirades, mostly aimed at the people he loves the most. Now, you've got to understand, before this play, British theater was, well, it was polite. It was all about upper-class people having witty conversations in fancy living rooms. Osborne basically kicked the door in on all that. He dragged theater into the messy, gritty reality of normal life. They ended up calling this new style kitchen sink drama, because for the first time, you were seeing the real stuff on stage, the grime, the shabbiness, and yes, literally an ironing board in a tiny flat. So, Section 2, A War in One Room. The entire play, and I mean the entire play, is set in one single claustrophobic attic apartment. And believe me, this one room is the battlefield for a war that's all about class, resentment, and a very twisted kind of love. And at the heart of this war are two people who couldn't be more different. On one side, you have Jimmy, our working-class rebel, and on the other, his wife, Allison, who comes from the exact upper-class world he can't stand. He wants her to scream, to cry, to show some kind of raw emotion. But her entire life, she's been taught to be quiet, reserved, to keep it all inside. You can probably see where this is going. It's a total collision of two worlds. And this battle never stops. Jimmy is relentless. He's constantly launching these verbal attacks on Allison, making fun of her family, her manners, everything about her. He thinks her calmness is a sign that she doesn't feel anything, and their poor friend Cliff is just stuck there, in the middle of it all, trying to play referee in a fight that has no end. But wait, because it gets even more intense. Allison is keeping a secret, a huge secret that changes everything. She's pregnant, and she's absolutely terrified to tell Jimmy because she's scared he'll feel trapped and that he'll lash out even harder. And you know what? She's right to be scared, because in one of the play's most shocking moments, he says this to her, with no idea that she's actually pregnant. He literally tells her he wishes she could have a child and watch it die, just so she could experience some kind of real, profound suffering. It's just a moment of pure emotional violence.
So, you've got this pressure cooker of a home, ready to blow at any second. And what happens next? Someone throws a lit match right into the middle of it. In walks Helena, Allison's friend. She's an actress, she's confident, and to Jimmy, she is the perfect symbol of that upper-class world he hates. Her arrival is the spark that's going to make everything detonate.
And here we go. Section 3, The Marriage Detonates. From this point on, things start happening really, really fast. This is the moment where all that tension, all that resentment just explodes. So how does it all fall apart? Well, first, Helena decides she's seen enough. She's horrified by Jimmy's abuse and secretly calls Allison's dad to come rescue her. But right then, at that exact moment, Jimmy gets terrible news. A close friend's mother, a woman who is like a mother to him, is dying. He begs Allison to go with him. He needs her, but she doesn't. She goes to church with Helena instead. To Jimmy, that is the ultimate betrayal. So when her father shows up, Allison, totally defeated, just leaves with him.
Okay, deep breath. We're moving into Section 4, a cruel, shocking affair. So the marriage is in ruins. But what happens in the wreckage? Well, it's probably the most shocking twist in the entire play.
So think about it. Jimmy is furious and he's been abandoned. Allison is gone. But her friend Helena, the one who orchestrated the whole escape, is still there in the apartment. What on earth do you think happens next?
Yup, in a turn nobody saw coming, Jimmy and Helena get together. The same woman who despised him for his cruelty, the woman who came to rescue her best friend from him, ends up in his arms. After this huge confrontation, he breaks down and she kisses him. It's wild. And the play shows us what happens next in this really brilliant way. We jump forward a few months. The scene looks almost identical. Same shabby flat, same Sunday newspapers, but now it's Helena standing at the ironing board. She has literally and figuratively taken Allison's place in this little domestic war zone.
And that brings us to the final act. Section 5, Reunion in the Ruins. Because this new, fragile life they've built is about to be completely shattered. The past is coming back.
Allison shows up at the door and she's just a shadow of her former self. She's sick, she's a mess, and we find out she's been through something unimaginable, all alone. She had a miscarriage. She lost their baby. She is just physically and emotionally broken.
And in her devastation, she says this to Jimmy. It's just a gut-wrenching line. She's telling him that she has finally experienced that raw, soul-crushing suffering he always claimed she was incapable of. She's been broken in exactly the way he once cruelly wished upon her.
Now, there's one last thing you need to know. Through all the fighting, they had this one small, fragile escape. It was this little private game they played, where he was a big, grumpy bear and she was a small, timid squirrel. It sounds kind of silly, but it was their only way to be gentle and vulnerable with each other. It was their retreat from the cruel world. And when Jimmy sees Allison's pain, his anger just dissolves. Helena realizes there's no place for her anymore, and she leaves. And so Jimmy and Allison are left alone in the ruins of their life. In the play's famous ending, there's no big resolution. They just retreat back into their game of bear and squirrel, huddled together in their shared pain, with no idea what comes next.
So that's where the play leaves us. Jimmy Porter was railing against a world he felt was empty and pointless. His anger, as destructive as it was, came from this desperate need to feel something, anything, real. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? More than 60 years later, in a world with all of its own huge problems, has that need really changed? What are the good, brave causes that fire people